Hey folks, this is Russ Irwin, International Coaching. Welcome to our second webinar. We want to build a little bit of what we were talking about on our last webinar, and we talked about 4 key areas of emotional intelligence. And I'm not going to really go through them, but the most important thing was this particular area of self-awareness. Self-awareness was actually one of the key traits that was found in 97% of the most successful individuals in the world. And so I want to take this concept of self-awareness and I want to build a little bit more on it. And what I'd like to talk about in today's webinar is navigating our way through life's transitions. Not so much just navigating our way through the transitions, but really how do we grow during the gaps? And what are the gaps? The gaps are this. There is where you were, where you are, but where you're meant to be. And the gaps are this period between you're not really where you used to be, but you're not fully into where you're meant to be. And it's in this area of gap, during this place of transition, that most people experience a high level of frustration, at times disappointment and discouragement, and they allow their potential to go untapped, to not be released, and they don't fully move into what their destiny is. So I want to talk to you about some strategies for creating exponential growth in your life and discovering your personal map to success. Now, when we talk about the word success, I know that we all define the word success differently, but I want to help you to discover your map in reaching what is success to you. And I want to talk about the power of having a map because, a number of years ago, I was on my way to a job interview in a few days. I had trained academically, I prepared for my career, I was all excited about this interview that I was supposed to go to. And a few days prior to this interview, I was actually with a couple of friends and we were standing around and we were chatting. We had our cars there and we were talking about what is masculinity and what is it to really be a man. And one of the things that we came up with is real men don't ask for directions. Real men don't use maps. Real men figure it out. Well, when I left that conversation, I realized that I was really not being too integral with what I was boasting about, because the truth was I had a map sitting in my glove compartment. So wanting to be the masculine macho man that we had just talked about, what did I do? I took my map and I threw it in the garbage. Well, a couple of days later I was on my way to what I thought would be the interview of a lifetime. The problem was this, is I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know how I was going to get to where I was supposed to be. And so I reached in about 10 minutes into my drive into my glove compartment to pull out my trusty map so I could get directions, only to realize, oh my goodness, I had thrown my map away. Well, guess what ended up happening? I arrived at this job interview 45 minutes late. Well, trying to muster up every little bit of sales pitch I had, I was able to win my way past the receptionist and past the personal assistant of the VP that was doing the interview to get into his office, to only realize that he really didn't want to talk to me because I had showed up for an interview 45 minutes late. Well, again, I wanted to try to come up with some kind of honest reasoning as to why I was late. So I said, I'm really sorry, I was caught in traffic, I wasn't sure of the directions. And he looked at me, and I'll never forget what he said. He said, "But didn't you have a map?" Well, I didn't get the job, but I'll tell you what I did get that day. I got a tremendous education. And what I realized was the importance of having a map so that we can navigate our way through the transitions, navigate our way through the gaps, and we can fully release our potential and get to what we are meant to get to, and that's really our destiny. I want to take a few moments and let me just begin with a word that I've really been talking about quite a lot, and that is our potential. Well, I should actually expand that a little bit. All of us have potential. All of us have within us this inner God-given gift. It's this untapped resource as to why we're here and what we're supposed to do. It's our potential. It is the realization of who we are, what we possess, that when it is fully utilized and fully released, it leads us towards our results. And what really is our results? Our results is our destiny. Our results is an alignment with our life's purpose. The problem is, here's a huge gap, is how do you take your potential? How do you release your potential? And how do you navigate your way towards your life's purpose, to the results, to the destiny? How do you align yourself so that you're operating in and functioning in everything that you were really placed here on this earth to function in? There have been a lot of people that have had great intentions. They've had amazing vision. In other words, they've had potential, but their visions never became a reality, and they wandered around in this transition time with a tremendous amount of frustration. Well, my question is this: why? Well, because even great intentions and the most creative ideas are going to take you nowhere unless you have a map to provide the necessary directions that are going to point you towards your destiny. Well, here's what maps do. Maps provide a sense of clarity when all else in life seems a little bit blurred, when life around you is chaotic and you're desperately searching for some kind of direction or some kind of an answer. Maps provide that sense of clarity. What they do is they turn the abstract into the concrete, and they help you to, when you're getting veered off course, it helps to bring you back into a sense of realignment. You know, if you want to be truly successful, to whatever it is that you're called to, whatever the God-given gifts, whatever the purpose, whatever the sense of meaning, destiny, direction that your life is for you at this moment, if you want to navigate your way properly towards this, and you want to become all that you're meant to be, and you want to do all that you've been called to do, well, to be truly successful in this particular area of choosing, there's a couple of questions that you're going to need to ask yourself. And the first question is this, is where am I at the present? The number one question that you need to ask that will empower you to fully release your potential and move towards experiencing results and aligning yourself with sense of destiny and purpose is where am I at the present? You see, this question does this. It's really a question about clarity. Who am I? Where am I? Is a question about clarity. Gaining clarity as to where you are at the present is a question that opens up the answers with regards to your personal truth. This deals not only with where you are, but who you are. And identity is an extremely important issue. If you really want to navigate your way to your life's calling, to your life's purpose. And you know, we talked about the identity crisis that we had back in the 60s. As everybody was asking those proverbial questions, who am I and why am I here? Do you know, 50 years later, people are still asking the same questions. We have a tremendous identity crisis within our society, and people need a sense of clarity as to where they're at the present and as to who they are, so that they can release their potential to move towards experiencing the results that they truly want to experience. Let me just say something with regards to clarity in this particular area of identity. Who am I? Because when I answer who I am, then I know where I am, and then I can begin to navigate or chart a course as to where I'm meant to go. When we talk about identity, there are a lot of people within society, a lot of major corporate leaders, sports individuals that I've talked to over the years, that what I've discovered is that they allow themselves to be defined by what others think about them. Recently, I was with a very well-to-do CEO of a major international corporation. And as we got behind closed doors, and you know, he really didn't want to talk to me about business. He had all the external success. What he really wanted to talk to me about was some internal issues. He had riches. He had external reward. But he was really missing wealth. He was missing that internal aspect inside. And what I discovered is he stood there and somewhat broken and began to tear up in his eyes. What he really said was this: Russ, if I was to be true right now with you and true to myself, I hate what I'm doing, but I'm doing what I was told that I was supposed to do. I don't even know that I'm gifted in this area. But I've been told I'm gifted because I've made a whole lot of money. But inwardly, outwardly, I'm wealthy. Inwardly, I'm bankrupt. I feel like I'm dying. And what I realized with this person was that he allowed others to define who he was. Well, another way that we often allow ourselves to be defined in our identity is by our past mistakes. And we refer to who we are now by what we have done in the past. And when we do that, it really robs us of the releasing of our potential and the moving towards or aligning ourselves towards our destiny and experiencing results. You know, no matter how distorted our interpretations have become, the truth will always remain the same. You know what? We can't change it. We actually can't escape it. The only thing we can do is we can face it. And this is the power of clarity. And it's not really about changing yourself. It's actually about finally becoming yourself. Clarity. Clarity with who I am, where am I at the present, and clarity in the third issue is this: what is it that I truly want? Well, the second question that we need to ask is the area, I'll put another C here, is the area of constraints. You see, now that you have clarity as to really where you are and who you are and what it is that you want, now you need to take a look at what are the constraints, what are the limitations that are over you, that are preventing you from fully aligning yourself with your destiny and experiencing the success of the results that really you were created to walk in. These constraints, they might be self-imposed or they actually could be life-imposed. But until we understand the constraints or the limitations over our lives, we will never experience a true breakthrough that will lead us towards our life's purpose. Constraints could result from conflict. They could be conflict between our emotions, our desires, our beliefs, possibly even our false expectations. The false expectations we place on ourselves are the expectations that other people that live, that place, on us. I talked about our last blog about this, keeping up with the Joneses, and I said, God, I don't even know who the Joneses are, but I know this, I don't like them. And we spend our lives experiencing constraints or limitations, trying to keep up with the expectations oftentimes of other people over our lives. Can I tell you, it's not rewarding. It actually becomes frustrating and exhausting, and it limits you from finding your true meaning, your true north, your true calling, your true destiny, your true life's purpose. See, when our constraints are left intact, when we fail to answer the question, what are the constraints, or what are the limitations that are holding me back? Well, when they're left intact, what they're going to do is they're going to lead to eventually a sense of complacency. And can I tell you, in this day and age, whether you're talking family, relationships, spiritual, you're talking business, in this age of high, intense competitiveness, mediocrity is no longer an option if you want to be successful and gain the result in the area that you have been created and called towards. If you fully want to release your potential, then you need to get clear. Once you're able to get clear, then clarity will lead you towards an understanding of what are the constraints over you. The third thing is this: once we've dealt with the constraints, now we're at a place, let me just put a big A here. Now we can take action. Now we can begin to design with clarity, with an understanding of our constraints and limitations so that we can break through them. Now we can begin to design a plan, a strategy. And once you have that strategy in place, that is a result of understanding your constraints, which is a result of understanding a clarity as to who you are, what you want, where you are at present, now you can take action. Let me just tell you, you don't want to take action. What you want to do is you want to take massive action. You know, it's not our circumstances really that define us. It's our decisions. And not only is it our decisions, but the next step is, there are a lot of people that make a decision, but they never take action. Let me leave you with a formula to help you to break through and to discover your life's purpose, to navigate your way through life's transitions, through those gaps, strategies for exponential growth. Here is your map to success. It's really this. It's gaining a sense of clarity. It's breaking through the constraints and the limitations over your life, and then it's taking not action, but massive, massive action. These three here will create a sense of alignment that will lead you towards results, towards your destiny, towards your life's purpose. This is your strategy for creating exponential growth. Hey, this is Russ Irwin. I want to thank you for taking the time to join us at this webinar, and I want to say a special thank you to everybody within North America that's watching us, those of you that are on Eastern Standard Time right now. but to our friends in China and Taiwan, to Russia, to Cuba, to Australia, those of you in different time zones that maybe you should be sleeping right now, but you've got a desire to create an extraordinary life and to take your life to the next level. And while many people are sleeping, you're awake and you're watching this saying, what's the strategy? What is the strategy that I can implement to take my life up to another level? I also want to encourage you that these webinars are a little bit of an unpacking of what we put together in an amazing book. And listen, I think this book is well on its way to a national bestseller. Thank you for the responses that you've given us towards the book. Thank you for the emails and some of the personal calls we're in saying, Russ, your book is absolutely changing. I had an opportunity to just speak with an individual, a person in their mid-20s that has been struggling with their whole life with a particular issue with their self-worth and self-esteem, and said, I got 2 pages into your book and it was like a light was going on. I want to encourage you to go to our website, www.russerwin.ca, just in case you're watching this through YouTube and you're not live on our webinar. And I want you to pick up the book, Creating an Extraordinary Life. That, in that book there, it's 10 days to a whole new you. That is strategies, that are the tools that you need to help you to break through and align yourself with success. Hey, listen, thanks for joining us. Look forward to your comments, to your questions. And hey, live with passion. We'll see you next month.